We hadn't had a proper photo vacation in quite a while, but luckily the Swiss Alps aren't too far away from Tübingen, and within a few hours we made it right into the heart of the Rhone Valley to an appropriately named sleepy little town that the French-speaking locals call Lens, or if you prefer the more English pronunciation, Lens. Well, obviously that name is probably older than any form of photography, but we still thought it to be a good omen, and it actually ended up being our photography base camp for 2 weeks straight, and we got to see a ton of interesting places throughout the Valais area of Switzerland, including towns like the medieval Sion with its castles, the Saint-Luc skiing paradise, or the Gemmi Pass, which is a high mountain pass that at 7,500 feet elevation connects the canton of Valais and the canton of Bern. And that is where we're now headed on narrow mountain roads to do some winter photography. Oh, and by the way, we were so happy with our photography in Valais that we actually decided on the spot to make these pictures into a photo book. So if you like to find out more about that, stick around till the end of the video. The way up to the pass starts down in Leukerbad, which is thought to date back to the 4th century BC with its first settlements. It lies at about 1400 meters above sea level, that's about 4,500 feet, whereas the Gemmi Pass that we are heading towards is up at over 7,500 feet, and even though there's a footpath that leads almost straight up the mountain, after a very brief consideration we actually opt for the cable car that will take us up almost 3,000 feet within just a few minutes.
Well, what you see here is part of our training program for Nepal. We've just made it up to the Gemmi Pass here in the Swiss Alps in Valais. We're up to about 2,400 meters, that's roughly 7,000 feet. And this is just a beautiful area to hike, and we've been hiking every day here. And we're doing it again. We're gonna see a nice lake, and obviously I'm gonna do some photography.
Now, one of the first things that comes to mind in a breathtaking environment like this one, and we're actually on top of the Daubensee, a frozen lake surrounded by beautiful mountains, is to shoot a panoramic image. And with today's tools, that's actually pretty easy, especially with landscapes. Most cameras today come with software to stitch a panoramic image from multiple single exposures. And if you have Photoshop CS3 or CS4, or the new Photoshop Elements, you have a very good panorama stitching software right at your fingertips. When taking the pictures, it's helpful to hold the camera in portrait mode to give the resulting image as much height as possible. And if you wonder why I shot an image of my thumb at the beginning and at the end of the series of images, that'll simply help me later on to easily identify the pictures that belong to the panorama.
Another thing that you might want to think about when shooting in snow, and in lots of snow as we have here, is that your camera will tend to underexpose. You will end up having gray snow. The camera will try to make it as neutral as possible in terms of brightness, and the way to deal with that, if you shoot in any of the automatic modes, program, aperture priority, time priority, is to dial in exposure compensation. Now, it's a bit counterintuitive because if there's a lot of snow, you'll have to actually overcompensate. You have to actually go into the plus range and make the picture a bit brighter. A lot of people think that if it's too bright, you have to darken it down. That's the wrong way. Give that a try next time. Exposure compensation plus half a stop, plus 1 stop, whatever your camera can do there. And then check your pictures on the display and look at how they turn out.